What is the best OSU keyboard? What? I'm sure you've all heard of the Wooting keyboard. Many top players have stated that it's a massive game changer with the feature Rapid Trigger. Right now, you can order a Wooting 60HE for $175 or pre-order Wooting's own keypad made for OSU for as low as $50. Well, today, we're going to discuss and review the keypad with Rapid Trigger that costs a whopping $14. I saw this tweet a while ago showing this image of a device called the O3C sale device. You can see that this keypad used to cost even less at $11 and actually went out of stock for a while, until they bumped up the price and restocked. Despite already owning a Wooting 60HE, I decided to buy it because I was curious and also because it's actually just really cheap. Depending on where you live, you can buy this straight from Taobao or through dropshippers on AliExpress. If you don't live in China, shipping will cost quite a bit, but in total it shouldn't cost more than $25. So, how does this compare to the real Wooting? That's how I'll be reviewing this keypad today and see if it works. Since Sayobot device is not a real brand, this keypad comes in nothing but this small box. Essentially, inside you get the keypad, a USB-A to USB-C cable, and a manual in both English and Chinese. Apparently having a knob on the keypad like this is not too uncommon, because I searched around and found some that has these knobs, like this, and this. But the screen, you can't really find that anywhere else. Let me show you. So, right outside of the box, you get obviously the knob, screen, and 3 keys with the double shot PVT keycaps. And then at the bottom, you get 2 of these stick pads. What I kind of like about this keypad is also the fact that there's like actually text etched onto it on the front and the bottom. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, we're gonna plug in the keypad and look at this. There's a fucking anime girl. So there's a nice little display of your key count. And the text here is something I've changed through the software. Now there are LEDs, but you can't really see that well because of the keycaps. This is what the LED looks like in a darker environment. This is what the switch looks like. You can see that the LED is here. All of these are customizable on the software, and just a fair bit of warning, do not change the light mode to twinkling and set the speed to 2 times. You will get a seizure. Back to the video. So the first thing you probably want to do with the keypad is to access settings by long holding the knob and then going over to display and then select language so you can change it to English. So during my OSU career, I've played with a handful of keypads. This is my first ever keypad I've bought years ago. Yeah, don't buy this. This is the keypad I was using before I switched to the Wooting. From the build quality, you really wouldn't think this is $14, but it really is the coolest keypad out there. Now I do have some complaints, mainly to do with the knob. It's certainly not SDVX controller quality, but I've been using the O3C for a grand total of 2 days, and the knob's already not looking too great. It wobbles when you try to move it around, and the sound it makes is very unsettling. Have a listen. Another problem with the knob is how closely it's positioned near the keys. This may or may not affect you based on your tapping style, but when I play, I sometimes hit the knob with my fat middle finger before I tapped on the keys, and I found it super annoying at times. I think the knob became wobbly because of just how many times I've hit it while playing like this, because the knob was totally fine 2 days ago. And you might be thinking, bro, just use the other key, what's the big deal? But this is what happens. I'm not the only one because some people did mention this in their Taobao reviews, but yeah, this is a really big deal breaker for me. And finally, the switches. The keypad is hot swappable with any magnetic switch, but obviously you don't have a lot of choices. There are currently 3 magnetic switches to my knowledge, the first being Wooting's lekker switches of course, the second one is called the KS20 by Gateron, and the third being this. Now this looks like a red switch, but what exactly is this? On the manual, this is said to be the Helios linear switch, which left me super confused, because the Helios Rapid Trigger keypad hasn't even been released yet, and on top of that, Helios' keypad uses the Gateron KS20, so the Helios switch doesn't really exist. Upon some research, I found out that they are made by this company, and only saw on the website 1688.com. We'll call this switch the
yiqian,
Reds. Unfortunately, on the product description, there's only documentation on the blue variant of the switch. So we have no info whatsoever on the reds used in the O3C. Like, why are you telling us the storage temperature range and not the travel distance of your switch? Anyway, using some very scientific methods, I've deduced that the switch has a starting force of around maybe 30 grams and a bottom out force of around 60 grams. And remember that magnetic switches don't have actuation force, because well, there's no actuation point. Basically, just view it as the average red switch with a magnet. Here's a sound test of the yiqian reds compared to the lekker switches. I'm sure everyone watching this are already familiar with how rapid trigger works, so I'll try to keep this part short. The rapid trigger on the O3C is not the same as the rapid trigger on the Wooting. Let me explain. So this is what Wooting's keyboard settings looks like. And this is what O3C's keyboard setting would look like. First, you're gonna lose Tachia mode, which makes your input faster. Even for a game like Osu, this setting is not gonna make you or break you, because while playing with the O3C, it feels very responsive, so there's zero problems in the latency department. However, not having an actuation point can be an issue. This means when the key actuates solely depends on the sensitivity of the rapid trigger, which is usually low. Some players might be more prone to accidental presses. Personally, this totally doesn't affect me because I'm awesome like that. But the most interesting one of them all is rapid trigger. And yes, you cannot turn off rapid trigger so the button is just gone. The main difference is that you can adjust the sensitivity of when the key is pressed and released individually. For example, if you set the press sensitivity at 2mm but the release sensitivity at 0.5mm, it can create a funny situation where you first bottom out the key and then release slightly. You can find that you cannot trigger a press because there's not 2mm for you to travel down again. For the O3C, there's also this setting called the dead zone. It's a mechanism to prevent the sensors from misjudging inputs. So just set it as what the manual tells you. Okay, but there's a major flaw with the rapid trigger on the O3C. I discovered it when this happened. Even though I clearly pressed the key fully downwards at the last note, the keypad thinks I've released the key during the spinner. What happened was that the keypad is just not very good. The analog data would change and think that you've released the key when you bottom out and you'll move your finger a bit too much. The wooden keyboard obviously doesn't do this even at the lower sensitivity because it's a good keyboard. So, for you to be safe from this on the O3C, I recommend setting the press and release sensitivity to no lower than 0.25mm. When I first got my Wooting keyboard around a month ago, it was like going from a 60Hz monitor to a 144Hz one. It transformed how I play, and this keyboard has been nothing but good for me. So I think I'm someone who can be a good judge of this keypad. But everyone is different, so what's good for me is not good for you, and rapid trigger might be useless depending on your techniques, especially if you suck at the game. You get the drill. So, what do I think of this keypad? In short, it fucking works. I don't feel like there's any difference in the way rapid trigger helps me, and at no point did I feel like there was something I could have hit if I just switched back to my Wooting keyboard. I'm still just as good in finger control, just as good in speed, just as good at streaming, it has the exact same responsiveness that Wooting gives you that just makes it so good. Like, I could just switch from Wooting to the O3C mid-map and I would play the same no problem. Yeah, I would have probably missed a whole lot more there if I didn't have rapid trigger. For the sake of having a fair and accurate comparison, I'll be using the lekker switch with the lighter 30 to 50 gram spring on the O3C that I used on the Wooting. There's nothing wrong with the yiqian reds, but I personally really dislike playing on the heavy switch because I just suck at playing on it. But don't worry, I did play on the yiqian reds for a bit, and I can assure you, it works. And also for the sake of testing, I've set the press and release sensitivity both at 0.2 mm to match my Wooting settings. And so, if I have to compare the feeling of playing on the O3C and the Wooting, I'd say the Wooting keyboard is like putting on a pair of boxing gloves and then punching on a punching bag. And the O3C feels like cutting lettuce on a chopping board. Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about? In essence, like most keypad, using the same switch on the O3C would feel slightly lighter to press on compared to the Wooting keyboard. Even on the sound test, you can hear it. It's quite a big difference even with the same switch. Personally, I get worse at because of this lighter feeling, and honestly, most people like me would probably prefer the feeling of tapping on the keyboard, but I'd say it's all about your preference. That said, it might take you some time to get used to tapping on the keypad, or getting used to the rapid trigger. Again, there's no latency issue for the O3C, so gameplay wise, I'd say it can be just as good as the Wooting. So, do I think you should buy the O3C? Well, if you look at just the value you're getting out of $14, 100% you should buy it. I forgot to mention this, but the cable you get with the keypad is actually 2 meters long. That's like a whole LeBron James, and having a long USB-C cable is actually really useful. And then you get a fully programmable keypad with the knob, LED, and a screen. What do you get for buying a Wooting? A fucking strap. And don't get me wrong, I love my Wooting and there's quite a few problems with the keypad. Whether it be no actuation point, the knob placement, the inferior sensitivity of the rapid trigger, or you just don't trust that this product could last more than a month. These are all valid reasons why you won't be using this for OSU. But if you are the average player who cares about the game and is looking to try out rapid trigger, and also don't want to pay for a full Wooting keyboard or wait for the Wooting Uwu and Helios keypad, this is the best choice right now. Sure, you're missing out on the Ryuke Pickle keycap, and I'm not trying to be a shill to the CCP, but the O3C is a fully working rapid trigger keypad that's actually good. I think the only other viable option right now is the mini pad, which is a bit more complicated. You have to buy your own parts and assemble it yourself. I'll put the link down in the description for those who are interested, because it's a pretty cool project. In my opinion, rapid trigger is a way for keys to more accurately register your inputs. Depending on your tapping style, it's honestly the most optimal way to play the game, because you can make more accurate inputs, which can increase your skill cap and potentially help you improve. So yeah, I do recommend this keypad. If people bought tablets solely to improve their aim on OSU, I don't see why you wouldn't also buy this keypad to improve your tapping. There are even people who bought 3 of these to play 7K Mania. It's real. Anyway, these are my thoughts on this keypad. This is the first time I've made an actual video, because I had some free time in my holidays, so yeah, this took a whole week to make, so I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Be sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the like icon. Who knows, maybe one day we can surpass this guy in subs. If you have any questions, make sure to comment down below. So yeah, goodbye for now. I don't want to ruin the ending, but the keypad just went out of stock on Taobao. But it is set to restock this weekend, so around June 17th, June 18th. If you want to buy this now, you have to buy it through AliExpress. And yeah, actually goodbye this time.